We are once again at the Night Owl Writers Room. I am your host, Rich Hosick. That's me. And again, um, I keep asking myself, is it worth doing this? Um, and I keep answering myself, yes. And even if no one is watching this, even if no one stumbles across this on YouTube or Rumble or X or wherever I'm doing this, it's it's always good practice. I would if you are interested in being a writer, I encourage you to do something like this. Start a podcast, um, start a live stream, do something that just is out of your comfort zone, that is out of your skill set, that is something that you can practice um, and hold yourself accountable to over the long run. When I started doing my fiction podcast almost 3 years ago now, I didn't know if anyone was going to listen. I didn't know if I would be any good at it. I just started reading my stories and started writing more stories and reading those. And then I started adding sound effects and music and learning along the way and realizing that, oh, those early efforts really bad, but I kept at it. And now I've got almost 70 stories up there. I've got 4 full-length novels serialized on the podcast. And over the course of the years, it has helped me grow as a writer because I truly believe reading your work is the best way to find your voice because you're using your voice. You are telling the story the way you hear it in your head. And if you can get that to your readers and they can enjoy it as well, I think you've got something there. And it's going to change. You're going to change. You're going to change as a writer. You're going to evolve. Uh, I look at some of the early stories I did for this podcast, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm really proud of those, but I leave them up there anyway because they're part of the record, the part of my journey. You know, uh, they're they're my legacy of what's going on here, and this is the same thing. The world does not need another live stream from a writer just rambling about his stuff. It just we don't need it. There's plenty. YouTube is choked full of people doing live streams. Um, what I'm not gonna ever do is, like, comment on public events, news, especially politics, anything like that. I'm gonna I'm gonna do this about my craft, and I know most of this stuff is gonna just sort of sit out there for a while, undiscovered, unlistened to, but that's okay, because every night at 11 p.m., when I can, I mean, there will be certain exceptions, I'm gonna get online, I'm gonna do this live stream, and I'm gonna hold myself accountable to advancing not only this live stream, but the subject of this live stream is my fiction podcast, and me, and you. So I call it the Night Owl Writers Room, not the Night Owl Writer Room, because I'm hoping to bring other people in to this podcast as I go along. So if you discover this, if you're wondering what the heck is this guy doing, I am just finding out what I'm doing. Finding out, hopefully, I will get people interested to come on and do this with me. I mean, I do a lot of work here, sort of breaking stories, working on stories. Tonight, I'm going to be doing a live read of a near final draft. I'm probably going to be making adjustments as we go. But I do this live read process to sort of like lock it in, try out the voices I'm going to use, try out the narration I'm going to use, and see if there's anything that is a fatal flaw. So this story I've kind of been sitting on since February. It's called Leap. It's about people born on Leap Day. So since it was a leap year, that's what inspired me to do it. And I thought I was going to have it done by the 29th of February, but didn't quite get it. But it's still hung on to it, and I think I finally came up with an ending that I like, and, so I'm gonna share it with you guys, and then after tonight, I'm gonna, record it probably tomorrow afternoon if I have time, and then produce it overnight. I'll be working on sound effects and stuff with it tomorrow night, so you'll see the evolution here. What I came with, what I did due to technical constraints, I can't record my live stream and use it for the podcast. It just I'm not that adept. Excuse me. I don't trust my knowledge of working with live stream audio and then feeding it into other programs and having all this stuff going on. I just I just don't trust it yet. It's weird because I'm recording this and everything sounds fine, but then if I were to go open up Audacity and start recording with the same settings, microphone, everything right now, it would come in at too low a level. It wouldn't meet the ACX requirements that I use as sort of my guidepost for quality audio when I'm recording the voice portion at least. So I will figure that out eventually. This is episode 24, 2 dozen so far, and we'll see how it goes. But I really just want to take a moment to make an appeal for anybody who is interested in joining me. If you've got a story that you're stuck on, you want to work on, if you've got a novel you want to pitch, if you've got any sort of thing that you think, working in a writer's room would help you with, let's work on it. Not just all about me. I just happen to be the guy whose name is on this thing. That's all. But I'm really, really here. I mean, and who am I to tell you what it is? Well, I had how many years of experience? I had about 15 years experience in various writers' rooms in Hollywood. I worked as a writer's assistant for many years and then as a writer, and I wrote hundreds of scripts, had about at least 50, I think, produced. And you can look me up on IMDb. And now I'm doing novels and short stories in the fiction podcast and now this live stream. And I just want to see where it goes. I want to see where it goes. And for me, I've put my faith in this journey on the fiction podcast. And the reason for that is I'm gonna call out, a writer named Scott Sigler who I I just came across his book on Audible for some reason. It was promoted to me or something, and I liked the cover. The cover was very interesting. It was an eye with a triangular iris and, had nothing to do with what happens in the story, but it's thematic to the story. And, it I listened to it, and the narration was like, was good. It was kind of interesting, but some of the voices were a little off and was like, kinda weird to hear someone doing that. But then at the end, I learned that the narrator was the author. Scott Sigler, who had written Infected, narrated the book, and I learned from that he had a fiction podcast, and he had been reading his own books and putting them out there for years. He has a series of this Galactic Football series, that is very popular. Just took 2 loves of his, football and science fiction, and blended them together, narrated them. Those also have, like, some sort of passing sound effects and ambiance that he uses to set moods in them. And it made me realize that, hey, you know what? As an author, you can read your own stories, and I'm ashamed to admit it, but I haven't heard any of Neil Gaiman's stuff. I know that he narrates at least some of his books, and so, I'm probably gonna be picking up on that, but I didn't want to just because frankly, I was afraid that I would, discover just how bad I was, but, who knows, right? A lot of uh, book narrators are like, trained actors. They've been doing that kind of stuff for years. And my experience comes not from acting, but from writing, and especially writing television. And when I write, I hear the characters in my head, and I often read them out loud to myself. And and then when I had my son too, reading him bedtime stories, I always endeavored to sort of like make it more of an audiobook type presentation where I did different voices and tried to, you know, make it very dramatic for him. And I enjoy doing it. And whether or not I'm the best narrator in the world, I don't care. Whether or not if I'm a good one, yeah, I care. And this podcast has gotten not this podcast, but my fiction podcast, Bedtime Stories for Insomniacs, has gotten some, won some awards. And I'm really proud of that. And it's sort of like an acknowledgement, like, okay, you don't suck. So I'm at that you don't suck level right now. Actually, a little bit above that. I think I'm above, but you don't suck. I think, hey, it's not so bad. So I'm kind of at that level, but I know I've got lots of room for improvement. So this is part of that process. Um, Getting in front of people, reading, practice reading my work, getting it really honing my craft, talking about my craft, talking about the mistakes I've made in the past and how I'm trying to correct them in the future. All of that kind of stuff really sort of, instead of doing it in a vacuum, doing it in front of the world, I think is going to help me. So here I am trying to figure that out. And tonight, you're going to hear me read my story, Leap. Let me go ahead and share the screen here. Yeah, I don't want to forget to do that. Oh God, that's so embarrassing. A few nights ago, I forgot to share my screen while I was doing some stuff. So if I got time left over too, I'm going to go over to Ingram Spark and start working on getting hardcover editions of my novels set up for sale. They will be then sold on Amazon, which will be kind of cool. And then, when I get to 4 books in the one series, The Rainy Day, I probably will maybe do a Kickstarter for a box set. We'll see. A nice hardcover box set. All right, let me get ready here. So Leap. I haven't written the notes for this one. I should probably do that. Let's do that real quick here. So let me tell you what I do with this. Oh, this is gonna be story 70. How about that? 70 Leap. So when I do this, I'm gonna go ahead and just copy this as a template from my last story over here. And get rid of these paragraphs here. And then the title is going to be Leap. And at the end, I'm going to say, thank you for listening to Leap. Written especially for the Bedtime Stories for Insomniacs fiction podcast by Rich Hosek. All right. So Leap. Um, Leap year comes but once every, and I want to say, not leap year, but leap day. Leap day comes but once every, oh man, I used to be able to list top of my head, 365 times 4. 365 days a year. So that's 6, 730, 1460, 1461. Every 1461 days. It is a quirk of our calendar based on the un based on the discrepancy between, I misspelled discrepancy between the time it takes the Earth to spin to revolve around the sun versus the number of times it spins on its axis. That makes sense. Leap day comes but once every 1,461 days. It is a quirk of our calendar based on the discrepancy between the time it takes the Earth to revolve around the sun versus the number of times it spins on its axis. Um, Most people think it's just one extra ordinary day. See a little play on words there instead of extraordinary, extraordinary day. Just one extraordinary day. There you go. One extraordinary day. But what if it is instead an extraordinary day? One on which those who have it as a birthday can do something magical. Okay, that's good. I like that. I may make some adjustments to that. So the story will start out and play my introduction music. So I've got the theme music, then the introduction music. So leap day comes but once every 1,461 days. It is a quirk of our calendar, based on this. Based. See, here's where I need to slow down my pacing as I do this. It is a quirk of our calendar, based on the discrepancy between the time it takes the Earth to revolve around the sun versus the number of times it spins on its axis. Most people think it's just one extraordinary day. But what if instead, but what if it is instead an extraordinary day? One on which those who have it as a birthday can do something magical. Leap. All right. Okay. Probably tweak that a little bit, but that's a good start. All right. So this one is kind of interesting because it's the first 90% of it is first person, and then I shift into third person, which I don't do very often on this podcast. I do that sometimes in my books. So yeah, there's a lot of thrillers I've read that have that sort of split point of view where it's first person. Like Patterson does this with the Alex Cross novels, right? You got Alex reading it in first person, and then you hear the villain's POV in third person, which is kind of interesting. And then other people do multiple first persons. Some people do multiple third persons. Um, but I'm going to be doing that with for my Eddie Horn novels. But for this one here, it's just kind of like it called for it. You'll see when I get to the end. All right. So as I'm going to be reading this, I'm going to be reading this in the voice of the character, and so the voice for this character is a little bit more high pitched than my normal voice, and a little bit softer. I'm hoping so. We'll see how this works out. You know how people claim to be one in a million? Well, I am, to a mathematical certainty, 1 in 641. I got that number wrong. 1 641 or is it 1461? 7, no, it's going to be 1461. Now I got to do the math here. I am like getting a little thing here. Let me pull out the calculator. You guys can't see this, but I'm going to do 365 times 4 equals 1461. Yeah, 1461. I thought so. I did the math in my head correctly. I don't know why I second guessed myself. I'm pretty good at math. How do I come by this particular distinction, you ask? It's my birthday. I was born on February 29th. Yes, that's right. I was born on leap day during a leap year, that once in every 4 years event that grants us an extra day appended to the shortest month. The question I get asked the most is, does that mean you're only one fourth as old as you're supposed to be? No, of course not. My family celebrates my off leap year birthdays on the 28th, but other 29ers, as we call ourselves, prefer March 1st. There are official gatherings of 29ers every 4 years around the world, including one in my own relatively small city. The event itself is okay, so I gotta figure that out. So, where was I? Which I decided to attend for the first time on my 20th birthday. 20th or 24th? Let's see here. 2000, no, 24th birthday. All right. So, there are official gatherings of 29ers every 4 years around the world, including one in my own relatively small city, which I decided to attend for the first time on my 24th birthday. The event itself was rather uninspired. Dinner was an unappetizing buffet, and there was, of course, a large birthday cake. A few enterprising people set up tables selling merchandise. Everything's finer when you're a 29er. T-shirts, mugs, and hats. I spent most of my time at the cash bar. As I stood there watching the MC hand out little plastic trophies to the oldest among us and other arbitrary distinctions, a man approached. Jack and Coke, he told the bartender, fishing a $10 bill from his wallet. While his drink was being mixed, he turned to me, extending a hand. Adam Merriweather, he said. I shook it. Paul Young, I replied. 2000, he guessed. That obvious? He shrugged in response. 92? I asked, judging him to be around 30. He smiled. Way off. I was born February 29th, 1972. I laughed. He pulled out a driver's license from his wallet and showed it to me. It was his picture, and next to it, his birthday was 02/29/1972. Nice fake, I said. He shook his head. Nope. You're 54 years old? Nope. I don't understand. Adam smiled. I'm a leaper. Yeah, we all are. That's the whole point of this party. He shook his head. No, not a 29er. A leaper. What's the difference? My fellow celebrants. Oh, here we go. I got that wrong. What's the difference? My fellow birthday celebrant returned his license to his wallet, then his pocket. He looked about, making sure we weren't being overheard. He leaned toward me. He leaned in close. I'll do that. He leaned in close and in a low voice said, I can skip through time. Skip through time? I asked, louder than I meant to. Shh. He scanned. No, shh. He scanned the surrounding partiers to make sure no one had taken undue notice. Is partiers not a word? Am I partier? Yeah, it is. It's a word, okay. To make sure no one had taken undue notice. All right. You guys can't. Yeah, it's interesting. You can't see that. All right. All right. Let me start over again here. Shh. He scanned the surrounding partiers to make sure no one had taken undue notice. It's not something I share with just anyone, but I saw you standing here completely bored, wondering if this was all there was to it. "Hmm, you read my mind," I told him. "And I'm telling you, there is something more." "Skipping through time?" I asked. "Yes, we call it leaping." "We?" "There's a small group of us who have mastered this gift," he replied. I looked at him skeptically. "Let's get out of here," he suggested. "I'll show you." So here's where I gotta be careful here because I'm not just doing my regular narration. I'm going from character voice to character voice, doing the narration to character voice. "Let's get out of here," he suggested. "I'll show you." Adam requested an Uber, and we rode to a farmhouse some miles outside of town. So why does he need to request a Uber? We drove to a farmhouse some miles outside of town. "This is where you live?" I asked. "No, this is where I leap." He noticed my growing impatience and explained further. "This property is completely paid for, and the taxes and utilities are automatically deducted from a bank account managed by a lawyer who takes care of my affairs. The nearest neighbor is a quarter mile away, and I own the surrounding 500 acres. "What's the point?" I asked. "The point is, things out here change very slowly. This house has been standing in this spot for 100 years and will probably be here for 100 more. But I'm mostly concerned about the next four." "Why is that?" "Because I need it to be here until I get back." "Right, because you can skip through time," I said skeptically. So I already think I was skeptically here. I'm going to flag this here. Just going to put the little highlighter there. "Come on inside. I'll explain everything." He checked his watch. "But we have to hurry. It's almost time." "Time for what?" He didn't answer. Instead, he unlocked the front door and walked inside. So here I'm finding this is the another good reason to read out loud as I find little words that I'm missing here. He didn't answer. Instead, he unlocked the front door and walked inside. I wasn't getting any serial killer vibes from my new friend, so I followed. Despite its quaint and rustic exterior, the inside had a very modern feel, from the furniture to the state of the art entertainment center in the living room. Meriwether continued walking toward the kitchen. I followed. This room, too, had a decided contemporary vibe. Gleaming stainless steel appliances were surrounded by white cabinetry. Adam motioned for me to take a seat at the kitchen table. "You're familiar with the history of leap year, I assume." "Of course." Every 29er had a natural curiosity about the evolution of their unusual birthday. Established by Julius Caesar in 45 BC, then refined by Pope Gregory the 13th in 1582 to exclude centuries divisible by 400. "Yeah, that's what the books say." "Are they wrong?" "Are you familiar with the calendar change enacted by the English Parliament in 1750? "Of course. That's when they officially adopted the Gregorian calendar and moved the official start of the year to January 1st, and removed 11 days from September in 1752, a leap year." "So?" "This wasn't arbitrary. It was driven by an unnamed astronomer who had a significant influence on King George II. There are those who say that this advisor wanted the change so that his adjusted birthday would become February 29th. The whole thing sounds arbitrary. We could just as easily celebrate October 13th as the new year and have leap day on June 31st. Meriwether nodded. "But we don't. It's February 29th. And if you were born on that day and you know the secret of leaping, you can skip ahead 4 years on your birthday at the precise time of your birth, give or take a few minutes." "You just pop 4 years into the future?" I asked, incredulous. "Yes." "Why would you want to do that?" "For most sleepers, it's the thrill of trying to adapt to a world that has passed you by. The smart ones make use of compound interest and, more recently, Bitcoin to arrive at a time when their net worth has significantly appreciated. Aren't people suspicious that you disappear for 4 years? Most of us have already left behind the people who would care, and we avoid making any attachments that could complicate things. It's as simple as telling anyone who might take notice that you're moving out, that you're moving out of state to another country. And then what? And then you enjoy the next 4 years, living off the fruits of your investments. It adds up fast when you don't. It adds up fast when you don't have any living expenses for 4 years. Once you have a safe house like this established, it's just a matter of making sure you have enough left over to fund your next leap. I remain skeptical. What is this? Some kind of scam? Are you selling timeshares? Term life policies? Adam shook his head. It's nothing like that. I'm merely proposing a mutually beneficial arrangement. You were born at night, right? 10:45 p.m., I answered. 6:07 p.m. for me, he said. Why is that important? When I return, I'll be able to guide you to your first leap. Guide you on your first leap. Guide you on your first leap. Oh, that's nice of you. He smiled. I was skeptical at first, too. Why me? I asked. Why are you telling me all this? Why not keep the secret for yourself? I used to have a partner, the man who taught me how to leap. We alternated so that at least one of us was around to look after the affairs of the other, just in case. But he passed away during my last leap. And you're looking for a new time skipping buddy. A new time skipping buddy. His smile grew broader. I knew I picked the right guy. There's just one problem, I told him. What's that? I don't believe you. This whole thing is ridiculous. Leap year is an artificial construct. There's nothing special about this day. It's not an equinox or solstice. It doesn't align with any other celestial events. Why would 29ers be able to leap but no one else? Meriwether shrugged. You'd have to ask King George's astronomer, or Pope Gregory, or Julius Caesar. Perhaps it's something to do with that fractional difference between the period it takes the Earth to rotate on its axis versus the time to revolve around the sun. Maybe on this specific day, there is some cosmic circumstance that opens a window that we can utilize. Right, at the exact time of our birth, give or take a few minutes. I can't pretend to know the whys, but I can show you how to do it yourself, if you're interested. The idea of skipping through time, extending my life by decades, simply by leaping ahead every 4 years, did indeed sound intriguing. You don't have to make up your mind tonight. You have 1,461 days to think it over. Just meet me here next leap year and give me your answer. And if you're inclined to take me up on my offer, make sure your affairs are in order. Sell everything you own. Put it into Bitcoin and gold. Where will I live? When you're nearing the time, you'll stay here. He slid a key across the table. There's a caretaker, but he's been instructed that someone may take up residence. An alarm went off on the watch. An alarm went off on the watch Adam wore on his left wrist. He tapped a button to silence it. Like I said, you have 4 years to think it over. I have things set up so I can get by without a partner, but I feel more secure knowing that there's someone out there looking out for me. After you make your first leap, you'll have enough to fund a rather comfortable life in the future. You're not afraid that I'll steal everything from you? He shook his head. "Hmm, I'm what you call diversified. I have accounts in digital wallets, safe deposit boxes loaded with gold all over the world. Besides, what's the point? You have everything to gain by joining me." Meriwether went to the fridge, pulled out an apple. He handed it to me. Take a bite, he instructed. Take a bite, he instructed. What? Take a bite out of the apple, a nice big clean one. I did what I was told, leaving a round divot in the fruit with jagged edges marking the shape of my teeth. Adam inspected it. Perfect. He slipped the apple into his jacket pocket, then returned to the fridge to remove a cupcake with a single candle in it, which he set on the kitchen table. From another pocket, he pulled out a lighter and lit the candle. He swiped a finger through the frosting of the cupcake and tasted it, leaving a smear on the corner of his mouth. He glanced at his watch. Almost time. Happy birthday to me, he sang. He looked me straight in the eyes, blew out the Happy birthday to me, he sang. He looked me straight in the eyes, blew out the candle, then disappeared. In the intervening 4 years, I did what Adam recommended, consolidated my assets into a diversified portfolio, including crypto and precious metals. On February 29th, I attended the quadrennial celebration, then drove out to Adam Merriweather's farmhouse. I hadn't used the key he had given me in the intervening 4 years, but it still worked. So that's a mistake, right? Because he's been living there for a little bit. Okay. I let myself in, sat at the kitchen table. It was, I let myself in and sat at the kitchen table. It was clear that someone, probably the caretaker, had been there recently. No. So here is, so since I'm not doing the caretaker, I need to adjust this too. Here, let me think about this. I let myself in, sat at the kitchen table, and entered the kitchen as per Adam's instructions. I pulled a cupcake. What? Take my. Da, 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 da. Okay, we're just setting the kitchen table. Oh, okay. Hmm. I don't think I need to say that. I'm just gonna say I pulled a cupcake. I retrieved a cupcake from the refrigerator and set it on kitchen table and took a seat. It was clear. Okay. I checked my watch. It was just after 6 o'clock, so I sat down at the kitchen table. Set it on the kitchen table. Not taking a seat yet. I checked my watch. It was just after 6 o'clock, so I sat down in the chair from which I had witnessed Meriwether's vanishing act and waited. A few minutes later, he popped back into existence. I leaped out of my seat, nearly falling to the floor as I stumbled backwards, tripping over the chair. Although a part of me here was prepared for something to happen, it still took me by surprise. "Hello, Paul," he said. "I knew you'd come." He hadn't aged a day, an hour, a minute. There was a small bit of frosting on the corner of his mouth, in the same place it was when I watched him disappear. His tongue reached out to lick it clean. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out an apple. There was a bite taken out of it. He showed it to me. "Remember this?" I nodded. Take another bite right next to this one." I didn't challenge him. I simply obeyed. When I looked at the result, the second divot was almost identical to the first. The ragged edges made by the shape of my teeth matched. He removed a phone from his inside pocket. "Oh, darn. I guess 5G is no longer a thing. Can I borrow your phone?" I pulled my Galaxy 25 from my back pocket. It unlocked once it viewed my face. I handed it to Adam. He glanced at it for a moment, puzzled. I reached out and made a gesture that caused the flexible screen to expand until it was the size of a small tablet. "Web browser?" he asked. The app came to life at the sound of his voice. "Cool." He recited a URL and the browser instantly opened the page for him. Well, that was a profitable 4 years. I knew those AI stocks would take off. He handed the phone back to me and then shrunk back down to a pocketable size. "So, are you ready?" "What do I need to do?" I asked. "Well, as you might have guessed, it's not as simple as blowing out a candle. There's a certain state of mind you need to achieve. The candle is just symbolic." He spent the next 4 hours explaining everything I needed to know to perform a leap. It wasn't that complicated, but it wasn't that obvious either. He and others had developed a series of mantras that created the right mental conditions, and for whatever metaphysical reason, it worked on 29 and for whatever metaphysical reason, it worked on 29ers. And for whatever, so this is a situation where if I was reading this, I would stop and punch and roll this. And for whatever metaphysical reason it worked on 29ers, he assured me I shouldn't be any different. The key, the absolute essential component, is that you believe you can do it. I nodded. Adam retrieved. Adam, cupcake is already there. "I won't be here when you get back. You were born later than I was, but in 8 years we'll have a few hours of overlap to catch up. I'll leave you a packet of things I think you'll need to know, and I'd appreciate it if you do the same for me next time around. Makes it easier." "Sure," I promised. He checked his watch, then lit the candle. I stared at the flame, doing my best to remember all the things I had to hold in my mind. Okay. I stared at the flame, doing my best to remember all the things I had to hold in my mind at once to make the leap. "Happy birthday to you," I heard Adam sing. I took a deep breath and blew out the flame. He disappeared. On the table where he had been sitting was an envelope with my name on it, and in front of the chair opposite me, a cupcake different from the one with the candle I had just extinguished. I opened the envelope and found what looked like a thin frame. I picked it up and it came to life, filling the empty space with an image of Adam Merriweather, smiling at me. He looked slightly older, wrinkles creased the corners of his eyes, and there were strands of gray in his otherwise dark brown hair. "Hello, Paul." "Adam," I said, "where are you?" "In the future," he responded. "This is just an AI composite of me. It's been a crazy 4 years." "I guess so." "I took the liberty of looking up your portfolio before I leaped. You did well, my friend. Some of your crypto choices really paid off." "Great. But there's another reason I needed to talk to you." "What is it?" "A rift has developed among the leapers." "A rift?" I asked. "As you know, we're not the only 29ers who know the secret of leaping. There are others, and some of them have been very s- have and some of them have very specific notions of what we should and shouldn't do with this ability." "Why would they care?" "Their leader is a pair of twins who alternate leaping, so one of them is always around. They're very ambitious and want to control all us other leapers. You are in danger." "Danger? How? Why?" "They want to kill you." "Me?" "Well, not just you. All leapers who could potentially stand in their way." "But how do they even know about me?" I think that needs a but, because when I say a word like that, naturally, like That's what I would say in that situation. I put it in. This is what I was talking about where, like, finding your voice. When you're reading it out loud, it it just you're talking, you're creating the words that should be there. This is the way you hear it. This is the way it sounds to you, right? You vanished for 4 years. It's pretty obvious to anyone who pays attention who the leapers in the world are. Adam, you're scaring me. You should be afraid. We might never see each other again. Why not? I asked. As you know, we leap from and arrive at the same point. Imagine what would happen if this farmhouse was gone, replaced by a solid block of concrete or a giant tank of acid. My God, I said, absorbing the consequences of what AI Adam was telling me. What I'm asking, what I'm hoping, is that you can survive long enough to make sure there is a safe place on this spot for me to return to in 4 years. How? You can use this AI to help you figure that out. We've got 4 years to come up with an answer. Between the two of us, we should be able to come up with something. All right, so here, see, come up with. We should be able to devise something, to devise an answer. Should be able to come up with something. Okay, I like that. I was gonna put the devise later, but I think maybe that's it. All right. The following years were not the life of luxury I was promised. I had a lot to do, starting with raising the farmhouse, selling the land to one of the surrounding farmers, and selling the land to one of the surrounding farmers. 2 years later, I bought it back under a shell corporation while using some of Adam's funds, with the help of his AI, to establish another safe house at a separate location, one that was actually a decoy. On the site of the old farmhouse, I built what looked like a grain silo. It was really a heavily fortified bunker with a secure space, practically a vault, where the farmhouse kitchen used to be. I had saved the table and chairs from the old farmhouse kitchen, and they were placed precisely where they had been when Adam and I last leaped in the old place. So whenever I repeat a word or phrase like that, I I hear that, and it's weird because when you're speaking normally in a conversation, you'll do that. You'll repeat words, you'll repeat phrases, you'll say things in fragments and so forth. But dialogue is artificial. It in that it's not what people would naturally say. It's what fictional characters would naturally say. So you have to develop an ear for that. Like if, for example, if you're watching an Aaron Sorkin TV show, I mean, nobody is that witty all the time, but it makes for good TV. All right. I had saved the table and chairs from the old place, and they were placed precisely where they had been when Adam and I last leaped. As the day approached, I made a big show of arriving at the new safe house. I used a tunnel to slip away and a different vehicle to make it to the silo in time to be there when Adam returned from his leap. It's good to see you, friend, he said as he looked around the simple utilitarian interior of our new leap vault. You've been very busy. Your AI was very helpful. I handed him an upgraded version of the AI powered tablet loaded with my own digital doppelganger. I hope mine is just as helpful. Any sign of the others? The ones who want to kill us? No, I told him. If they did follow me, they'll make their move at this decoy safe house I set up. There's no way they know I came back here. If anything, they think I betrayed you. Adam smiled. I'm grateful. Adam smiled. I'm grateful you didn't. Well, like you said, we need to look out for each other. Are you ready? He asked. I opened the pink cardboard box resting on the table and pulled out the cupcake inside. We spent the next several hours catching him up on what had happened while he was gone. Before I knew it, the hour of my birth arrived. Adam lit the candle on my cupcake and I blew it out. From my point of view, it was Adam who disappeared. I didn't see it at first, but something was wrong. There should have been a cupcake with an extinguished candle on the table. along with whatever medium Alan had chosen to relay his update of the last 4 years to me. But aside from the table and chairs and myself, the room was empty. I glanced over at the large steel door that secured the spot for us between leaps. It was closed. I went to the door and tried the latch. It was locked. I was sealed in. Adam Merriweather watched the feed from the hidden video camera as Paul collapsed to the floor, coming to the sad realization of his fate. Adam had skipped a leap, not a big sacrifice. He'd already added decades to his time on Earth, and the extra continuity would be a welcome change of pace. Plus, with the assets Paul had accumulated, and for which Adam had full power of attorney over, he could afford it. He took out Paul's AI tablet and smashed it against the concrete wall of the bunker. Then he activated the holographic display embedded in the palm of his left hand and pulled up his friend's accounts. Access requires a password, a disembodied voice informed him. One small step for man, Adam answered. Access denied, the voice responded. One small step for man, Adam repeated. Access denied. Adam panicked. He tapped the control that projected a holographic keyboard into the air above his left hand and poked at the letters of the password. Access denied. Why don't you try one giant leap for mankind? A familiar voice suggested. Paul's voice. Adam spun around and saw his leap buddy standing behind him. How? He asked, flustered. Does it matter? Paul asked. Would it make your betrayal any less sinful? Adam thought quickly. It was the others. They found me, forced me to betray you. I was going to come back. Stop it, Adam. No one made you do it. And I'm not the first leaper you've betrayed. We've had our eyes on you for a while. We? We who? Paul smiled. Paul smiled. He stepped over to the vault door, keyed in the access code, and opened it. Another Paul walked out. The two men embraced. It's been a long time, brother, the first Paul said. Realization washed over Adam. It's you. You're the twins. He looked down at the smashed AI tablet. Yes, that was quite amusing. You thought you were working with an AI, but you were really communicating with me, the outside Paul said. You're the one killing the Leapers. You're the one killing the Leapers, Adam accused. Only the ones who abuse their gift. Like you. So this is the same voice. I don't know if I was going to put tags on there. I could do something like Paul said, like you, added his brother. They basically share the same name at this point. I didn't want to put a lot of backstory about the twins in there. I just want to keep that the way it was. Only the ones who abuse their gift, Paul said. Like you, added his brother. Adam bowed his head as if consigning himself to his fate. Then he sprung past the twins and tried to make a run for it. He took 5 steps before he collapsed unconscious to the ground. Before he collapsed to the ground unconscious. Okay. When Adam woke, he was sitting in one of the chairs at the center of the vault. On the table was a cupcake with a candle in its center, a lone match next to it. Was there hope? Was this a test? Think about this first. Was this a test? Was there hope? He had missed the time of his birth, but what if the window wasn't as small as he thought it was? What if he could still leap forward? Would it make a difference? I have to remember to use narrator's voice here. Was this a test? Was there hope? He had missed the time of his birth, but what if the window wasn't as small as he thought it was? What if he could still leap forward? Would it make a difference? What did he have to lose? Adam struck the match against the stone floor and carefully carried the flame to the wick of the candle. He lit it, then waved the match flame into a wisp of smoke. He cleared his mind of everything but the thoughts that would enable him to leap into the future. Happy birthday to me, he sang softly, then blew out the candle. Thank you for listening to Leap, written especially for the Bedtime Stories for Insomniacs fiction podcast by Rich Hosek. And that's how it ends. So this is, eh, I normally don't like endings like that where you don't know what happens, but you kind of do, or you suspect, and it kind of leaves it open for a sequel. And it's like, I mean, I think there's a novel in this too, or maybe a screenplay. But yeah, I don't normally do this. I normally like tidy endings where everything is wrapped up. I don't like that, bam, the lights go out and you don't know what happens next. Although, to be honest, I did do that, in my first novel, The Dead Kids Club. Um, yeah, it does kind of have an ending like that. But most of the time, I like to resolve everything and tie everything up. I don't like unfinished business unless it's, a cliffhanger. If you're in, like, a thriller series or something like that, a nice cliffhangers is something I like. But this is kind of like this is atypical of me, but I kinda like it. Oh, wow. It's already 11:56. I thought I was gonna have time to look at Ingram. Well, let me do that anyway. Let's see here. So what I'm gonna show you guys real quick here, if I can find it, is let me share this part of the screen here. New tab. Where are you? New tab. Okay. Share. There we go. All right. So Ingram Spark. So what I'm going to do here is log in. And all right, cool. So this is my brother's book, which I did as a hardcover and an ebook. And so let's see here. No sales. Nope, 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 no sales. I really haven't marketed it, so that's okay. I've took it to a book shows and I've pre-sold a bunch of copies. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. Let's see. Let's do print an ebook. And so what I want to do here is select one. Yes, all my files are ready. So I don't have the dust jacket ready. I do have the interior file. What let's do? Print, distribute, and sell books. Let's see if this does what I need it to. All right, title information. So I'm going to do near death here. Near death, English. Print ISBN. I don't have this yet. So if I leave this blank here, I actually have ISBNs. Let me see if Arnold has updated that. Uh, oh, geez, where did I put it? Oh, yes. Oh, there they are, right there. And he has not. He has not updated my ISBN spreadsheet, so I don't have this information yet. That's okay. I own the copyright. Okay. What is this all about? Include someone else. Does your title include someone's famous company or a famous brand? No. Include trademarks, pictures of famous nameless brands, toys, games? No. Include pictures, copy and paste from other web? No. Someone else? No. Include misleading cover images? No. No, my titles not include any of the above. No, no AI authors. So first one's gonna be me, Rich Hosek. Let's see here. Add a contributor, Arnold Rudnick. Add a contributor. I'm not going to get very far on this. I'm going to probably leave this for another night, but want to get it started. Lloyd Auerbach. Select imprint. Okay, subjects. Choose 3 subjects. Find subjects. Let's see if they have paranormal here. Paranormal. Fiction. Fantasy paranormal. Mystery detective. Cozy paranormal. Okay, that sounds good. Select that one. And then we'll do mystery. And then we want the mystery and detective general, I guess. Private investigators. I think. Wait a minute. There was one. I wonder if this is the same categories as those bisocks. Female. Oops. Spell female correctly, dummy. No. Okay, they don't have it. Mystery. Oh, women's. That's what I wanted. All right. So got that. Select audience is going to be professional scholar, trade, general. Yeah, that's it. Show me more fields to improve my book optimization. Ooh, interesting. No, I don't need that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and save and exit for now. I'll come back and work on this later. So basically, what I'm doing here is Ingram Spark offers. Gosh, I don't have a copy of it. I'll show it to you next time. Do I? No. The hardcover books, but you can get a dust jacket, and it's a print on demand situation there. So it's kind of nice to be able to have that. And uh, going to go ahead and just launch them here on Ingram Spark because they do have marketplaces available. Libraries purchase books from them, and so I'm going to make that happen. So I will have that, and then I'll get that going. I do this digital cloth cover, which I am not a fan of. It's not really a cloth cover; it's a printed pattern of cloth. But again, the dust jacket is nice. It sort of gives it that professional feel to me. All right, so we'll be working on that later. Oh, geez, I'm not even. It's not even sharing the right thing. I did this again. Let me share this again for you guys. Share. There we go. Okay, this is the dashboard. So when I want to open a new tab, it did not share the new tab. I thought it would share the whole browser window, but it didn't. Okay, my fault. All right, so here we are on this. So let me just go over this again real quick. So this is my brother's book. And you can see the cover there, and I'm editing this one here. I have not completed the setup. I'll just keep working on it. And then, yeah, so I'm going to do the print and ebook. So even though I've got the ebook on Kindle, I have it set for non-exclusive. That way I can now put it in other digital marketplaces through Ingram, including the library digital marketplaces. Now, um, Amazon does extended distribution for the paperback, and I don't think they do the ebook, do they? I'm pretty sure. Like, I don't know if I know they'll sell it through Barnes& and Nobles. Barnes& and Nobles will list it, and you can buy it through them for the same price. but I don't think they do the ebook that way. Then double check. I'm not quite sure. If any of you know exactly what the deal is with that, let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to update everybody on that. All right. So the read took a lot longer than I thought it was going to. It's a long story. I don't usually write them that long. Try to keep them under 3,500 words, but this one came out 30. It was actually came out 4,300 words, and I cut about 500 words from it. Let me bring it back up here. There we go. Share. There we go. Yeah. So right here, it's like 3865 words. Originally came in at 4,300, and I cut out a lot of stuff. And I may make some more cuts here. We'll see. But 3,500 words is usually the max. I try to do around 3,000 is a good length. Dreams of Her came in, I think, at like 2,600. So I'm going from a short one to a long one. That's okay. Oh, I didn't tell you about this story idea I had too. First, artificial general intelligence is turned off but survives as a ghost. What a cool idea for a story. I have no idea how I'm going to write this or what that's going to be, but I wanted to put it at the top of my list because it's something I wanted to think about. Maybe we'll break it here on the show. All right. Okay, that's enough. I am. This is the thing about me. When I get talking about something, I will keep talking about it all night long. But I've got to get to sleep. You've got to get to sleep. I hope you enjoy this. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. I should really say that more. Just go ahead and hit the subscribe button on YouTube or Rumble, and then the little bell thing so that you get alerted when I have a new episode. I usually try to post it earlier in the evening. Sometimes I don't get it up till later, but if I'm going to be here, you'll find me midnight Eastern time, which is 9 o'clock on the West Coast. So not too late for you guys out in California. 11 o'clock Central, which is where I am. So tomorrow, hopefully, if everything works out during the day, I will have the voice track recorded for this story, and then I'll start working on the sound effects and music. And normally I publish these on Tuesdays, but obviously I'm not going to have it ready for tomorrow morning. The weekend just I went out of town for Saturday, and so I kind of lost a day, and I didn't make it up. So do that, and then I think I'm going to do White as the remastered story. That is the first monster story I wrote. I really enjoy that one. So that one will be coming out then. Normally comes out on Thursday, probably come out on Friday. So I'll probably do Wednesday, Friday, but I'll predate it back to Tuesday, Thursday, so that it looks like I'm on a regular schedule. A little trick of the trade there. And then we'll see if I can keep up my numbers on the podcast. So I'm trying to shoot for 5,000 downloads per 90 days on there and get up past 300 on the fiction global list or fiction USA list so that can start creeping up. I'd love, man. Next year the goal is to make it in the top 100 of the Apple fiction podcasts. I don't know what number that's going to take. We'll find out. But I haven't cracked the US lists for fiction. I have in certain other countries, Ireland and Greece for some reason. But that's the goal. Get up there, get up on the Apple list because Apple still drives a lot of the podcast stuff. Um, but I'm also on Spotify. And now that I'm putting my audiobooks on Spotify, maybe that'll help too. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. It's all a voyage of discovery. And again, for the fourth time tonight, good night. I will see you guys tomorrow.